This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and finally, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. As you know, just like Apple with the iPhone, they're doing 3 units this time around: the S10, the S10 Plus, and then the S10e, which is the affordable model, which is sort of like the iPhone XR. They go from expensive to really expensive. So, I mean, I'll just complain again because I think the fact that we're hitting $1,000 starting prices for flagship phones is a little crazy, because I do a lot of laptop reviews, as you know, and a lot of people say they can't even afford a $1,000 laptop, let alone a $1,000 phone. Be that as it may, Samsung is part of the duopoly with Apple of the phones that most of you are buying these days, at least in the United States, probably Europe, Canada, and so on, maybe not so much in China. And I tried really hard to not like this phone. Now, that isn't because I'm biased or anything like that. It's to be not biased, because we can all fall prey to the ooh and ah, the marketing is the latest Samsung, it's finally got a redesign, you know. So I try to really just keep my expectations chill. And I kept finding I really actually like the phone a lot. We're going to look at it now. You know, there are a million Galaxy S10 reviews out there and S10 Plus reviews, and yeah, so I'm not going to repeat every little thing and go over every little thing with this one. I'm going to talk about the things that I think are the most important, for the things I like and the things that I don't like so much. The first off, and this might surprise you, it is a matter of personal taste. I really actually don't mind. In fact, I kind of like the Infinity O display, or what I call the O-hole display, because you got that little cutout on the S10 and the double cutout, like little goggles, on the S10 Plus. It looks distinctive, which is kind of nice. I think part of the reason the iPhone X did okay with the notch is because they were the first ones to really notch it up, and it didn't look like anything else. Be that as it may, once everybody else starts copying, that'll be less of an interesting thing, but it wastes less screen real estate than a lot of the notch implementations do. The Pixel 3 XL being the worst there with its super tall notch. So the less of my screen that you're going to take up while you're still finding a way to give me front cameras, the better. It looks cool. It has engendered so many really amazing wallpapers already for both the S10 and the S10 Plus. You can see I'm rocking some of them. There's actually a Reddit thread for that where you can find a whole lot of nifty wallpapers. It kind of makes it fun. Now, when you go full screen in programs, some of them, you're still going to have the notch up there, kind of hidden in the top taskbar. And you can actually choose to hide it. There's a Samsung setting for that, where it just basically puts a black bar at the top of the screen where you see all your little notifications, your battery status, and all that sort of thing. If you're doing something like watching Netflix, it does not go all the way to the very edge. It fills up more of the screen, it seems to me, than the iPhone XS does, or XS Max in the case of comparing like-size phones. So you're not going to get a hole punch in your cinematic movie experience, which is good. But if you're playing YouTube, you will get the hole punch cutout if you zoom to full screen, which for most YouTube videos, including mine, whatever, it doesn't really matter too much. But I'd leave that up to you. Also, this is Samsung's best display yet, and my God, they always have great displays, right? So how much better can it get? You may or you may not like this, though, because it's the most color-accurate display yet. Samsung, when they first started years and years ago with AMOLED displays, well, the colors were very garish. The contrast was kind of overblown, but it looked really cool. And it's engendered a generation of people who now prefer bluish-white displays and over-the-top colors. It's the Instagram look of the world now, isn't it? So with this one, they have toned it down, which I prefer. I like color-accurate. I do things like watch photo videos and painting videos where the color accuracy matters more than just seeing zingy colors. It's up to you about how you feel about that. So this one is warmer looking, sometimes a little pinker looking in some light, but that's actually accurate. It looks a lot more like the iPhone X display, whereas the iPhone X used to look a little less zingy compared to, say, something like the Samsung Galaxy S9, S9 Plus, or even the Note 9. Now, there are fewer options, too, for that setting screen. Now, you can choose basically natural, or you can have vivid, which makes things a little zingier, but not a lot. There's manual adjustments if you want to do that for the color balance, warm versus cold, so if you want to get that cold look back, you can. But yeah, you don't have Super AMOLED Photo, Super AMOLED Cinema, and all that stuff as an option anymore. It's a nice screen, though. The other good thing is that they managed to reduce blue light, which is supposed to be bad for our eyes, keep us up at night, all that sort of thing, mess up your circadian rhythms in your brain. So 40% less blue light without having to flip a switch or see a very icky, yellowy looking screen. Good times for them. The next thing is, surprise, the curved glass. They've been doing this forever at Samsung, but they're finally getting really good at it. If you had an S8 and the accidental touches drove you crazy, or the reflections on the apex of the curve of the screen, they've gotten the curve down to be really subtle. It doesn't go that far around the edges, which should be good for durability as well. There's a lot less reflectance going on, so a lot less distortion that's noticeable, and the accidental edge touching thing happens a lot less. It's one of the things that really made me crazy with the S8 and S9 family of phones. Now, they do have an option on the settings screen, and it's to avoid accidental touches, basically, and also pocket dialing and pocket touches and all that sort of thing. The only drawback is once in a while I notice, because I really do have long fingers and big hands, is my hands do wrap around, even on the S10 Plus model, and sometimes I'm touching the edges and I don't realize it, so it doesn't respond to the poke that I'm doing with my other hand because it's trying to ignore things at the moment, touches. But overall, it's a lot more evolved. It's a lot better. Now, if you really hate the curved glass for whatever reason, you find it too slippery, even though it's kind of ergonomic, curves fits your hand, whatever it is, the S10e has a flat screen. Nice to know Samsung still does offer that. While we're talking about that screen, you know, a big deal is the in-display fingerprint scanner, which is ultrasonic and should be very secure. It's also been very finicky. Now, they already had a software update issued for it, but the problem is that you probably enrolled your fingers and then got the software update. I would suggest, if that rolled that way for you, for those of you who are early adopters, delete your fingerprints and start again. It seems to work out better. There's also a screen protector pre-installed. It's very thin. It's just plastic, not glass, because screen protectors matter now. They can't block the ultrasonic sensor, so Samsung included one of their own. It's not a bad screen protector. It does slightly still reduce the efficacy of the in-display fingerprint scanner. So how bad is it? I've discovered it learns, first off. So I started from scratch after getting the update. I re-enrolled my fingerprints and even tried doing it in 2 orientations, because orientation apparently matters. And at first it was about 80% successful, which I don't think is very great. If that gets old really quickly. You turn on your phone at least probably 50 times a day. You don't want to have a delay, do you? So I noticed that it went from 80% to 90% really quickly. And now it's about 95% or so. So it could still be better, but that's getting there. And with some more software updates, it might get better. I believe that it is actually learning to recognize your fingerprint. Is it as good as Face ID on the iPhone? No, it really isn't. Once you get used to that, the fact that you just pick up the phone and you look at it and boom, it unlocks, like you're not having to do anything, that's the best. And Face ID on the iPhone is very secure. It's a 3D facial image map, so it can't be fooled by a photograph of you. As you've no doubt seen, and we're going to demonstrate it as well, if you use the Face ID scanner that comes on the Galaxy S10 family, it is pretty easy to fool with a photo or a video. So I'm going to hold up an iPhone with a picture of myself and fool the Samsung. They used to have the iris scanner that was much more secure, but they got rid of that. I really don't know why they got rid of it. That wasn't always the fastest thing, so there it is. Now, they do have an option to make it more secure, and I found I could still unlock the phone with my iPhone. Not every time, but every couple of tries, I could still get it done. Does this matter for you? Probably not so much, unless you're worried about your friends and family, because who else is going to have a picture of you? I mean, if you leave your phone on the table at the local coffee shop, and somebody, instead of just wanting to steal your phone so they can steal your phone and use it themselves or sell it, if they actually want your data, even not knowing who you are, why would they want your data? They'd have to try to snap a picture of you and be really subtle at the coffee shop first, and then try this trick out. And then there's the fact that Samsung knows that it's not the most secure thing in the world. So if you're using this for Samsung Pay, you can't use the facial recognition at all for that. You have to use the fingerprint scanner. My next favorite feature, though, maybe one of my top favorite features actually, is the triple cameras on the back. That's right. You can get up to 5 cameras now if you go with the S10 Plus. You will get 5 cameras. With the S10, you'll get 4. And with the S10e, you'll get the new wide-angle lens, and you'll get the main lens and a single camera in front. But anyway, S10 Plus has 3 rear cameras. So it's not the first time we've seen this done. Obviously, we have the normal main camera, which is kind of towards the wide side, like most phone cameras is. We have the telephoto lens, which we've seen Samsung do before, so that's great. You get a 2x optical zoom, so no digital zoom, no loss of quality. And now we have a very wide-angle lens on the rear, 123-degree field of view. So what does that mean? As a photographer, that means instead of having a fixed lens, I now have this here. I have 3 to 4x zoom available to me. with my phone. So LG's been doing that for a while too, you say. Yes. Well, the thing is, LG's software has not been as reliable in terms of image quality. Samsung might not have the very best camera phone on the market right now, but their software is very consistent and very good. So when I switch between my cameras, I don't really worry about, is the exposure going to be right? Is the color going to be right? They just get it pretty well right on. So what versatility, right? Even though I'm not always a wide-angle photographer, there are times when you want to capture a big vista. You can see the difference from our 3 different backyard pictures to give you the idea. Now, if you want to zoom in, you can always crop, but you just can't add more to your scene, can you? And this way you don't have to go into panorama mode and just try to capture more, though panorama is available along with the usual 4K video recording at 60 frames per second with really good optical image stabilization on the telephoto and main lenses and digital stabilization too that's very effective. You've got all the effects that you could ever want. You've got scene detection, up to 30 scenes, including dogs, cats, and babies now. So it helps you do a pretty good job. So the cameras are 12 megapixel for the main and for the telephoto lens, 16 megapixel for the wide angle lens. And is it the best camera phone on the market? Probably still, other than the versatility of those different lenses, probably the Pixel still, the Pixel 3 and the Pixel 3 XL are the best so far. They tend to take slightly cooler shots, whereas the Samsung goes a little bit warmer, And I would say the Samsung this time around is pretty much neck and neck with the iPhone XS family in terms of image quality. It's not passing that bar. But still, we're talking really excellent image quality here that most people who are not specs mavens are going to be really very happy with it. The one thing that's not so awesome about the camera, low light. It's okay. It's not really great. Obviously, the Pixel 3 with the software fixes that they do to really bring out data in a dark image, you're not going to get that so much. I think even the iPhone is still a little bit better in low light. It's not hideous in low light. It's just not like, wow, maybe next year. Samsung now has their One UI software, which is much better than the TouchWiz of old. No more overbearing, over-featured, what did you do to Android kind of experience. It's cleaner, it's lighter, it's actually very useful, it's customizable, you can set your grid size, you can set what kind of home screen you're running, all that sort of stuff. So I don't feel a need to put a Nova launcher on it. They've done a good job there. It's running Android 9.0 Pie. As ever, Samsung is not super fast with OS updates. If that's important to you, I would go with something like the Pixel family or maybe even the One Plus family. The only thing I don't like is the Hello Kitty icons. I mean, I don't know. They're just not my thing. But you can get different icon packs, and you can change that if you want. Another one. You know the story. It's a Samsung phone. You have a headphone jack. You have that 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. And you have a micro SD card slot, which means don't waste your money unless you really know you're going to need it with that 512 gig or 1 terabyte of storage model, when you can just put a micro SD card inside the phone instead. I mean, you've got to be one heck of an app junkie to need more. You can put your videos, you can put your photos, all sorts of stuff on a micro SD card. In terms of connectivity, it is a 4G LTE Cat20 phone, so that's fast, 100 megabit per second download speeds. It has gigabit Wi-Fi, 4x4 MIMO. There will be a separate 5G version of the phone. We don't really have 5G networks yet, so whatever. Maybe next year it'll feel more important. Of course, given how expensive phones are and how infrequently a lot of people are upgrading, you might want to think about next year, but I wouldn't obsess too much on that right now, especially because for most purposes, 4G LTE is amazingly fast enough for most of us. So it has Qi wireless charging. It has Qualcomm Quick Charge 2.0, still only 2.0. Why? People are complaining now because there are faster fast charge implementations for the wired plug-in charging. I suspect that Samsung is completely changed and scarred as a company over the Note brouhaha when we had the exploding Note batteries. So probably they're opting for more space for a bigger battery without having to leave extra space for swelling that comes from heat from even faster charging. This is my guess. So it's the same fast charging they've been using for several generations now. It's better than no fast charging, but it's not the fastest of fast charging. For wireless charging, it does support fast charging 2.0 for wireless, just like the last generation, and it is pretty quick. It's almost as fast as the cable charging, which is pretty darn neat. The new thing, as you probably know, is bi-directional Qi charging. So what does that mean? You can use it as the world's most expensive iPhone charger if you want to. I don't know how many people are going to be topping up other people's phones, maybe in a desperate situation. As long as you have enough charge, you can do that, and it charges at kind of slow charging speeds if you're charging somebody else's phone. More likely, it's for the Samsung Galaxy Buds, which are their competitor to the AirPods, and it's for your Galaxy watches. All of them pretty much, except for the Gear Fit family, which is the curved fitness band kind of one, so it's too curved, it can't lay flat on the back of the phone, can it? So I don't know. It's nice to have, but unless you own those accessories, yeah. By the way, potential iPhone switchers, probably the ecosystem is probably what's holding you back. Maybe you like your Apple Watch, maybe you like your AirPods. You can use the AirPods with the Galaxy. Works just fine. They're just Bluetooth. And the new Galaxy Active Watch, we're going to review that too, $199. It might help you out a little bit. We knew off the Apple Watch, maybe. So what's not to like about the phone other than the price? Oh my God, the price, the price, the price. Okay, yeah. Ergonomically speaking, the S10 Plus is probably not what you would ever call a one-handed phone. And I have big hands, but I cannot palm a basketball level of big hands. And you kind of almost need to have that. You pick up the phone, you want to reach that power button, good luck to you. I mean, yeah, it's pretty hard. You risk dropping the phone because you're not supporting it at the bottom anymore. Likewise, those of you who are actually using your thumb to unlock it, God bless you. I don't know how you're doing it because I just really, without feeling, I might just drop the phone trying to do that. So yes, power button too high, one-handedness, we know this. It's a big phone, not so much. Obviously, the fingerprint scanner could be better. It's great that it's cutting edge for reading technology and all that sort of thing, but it's not even as fast as the OnePlus 6T's fingerprint scanner. Even if it is a more secure implementation, they need to get it quicker. The Face ID, I hope someday that they can actually rival Apple's Face ID, because they can be fooled by a picture of me. Well, it's fast. That's all I can give you. The speakers on this, it has stereo speakers with 8kg tuning. You get little 8kg earbuds in the box. Stereo, you know, the earpiece, the usual thing is one speaker. The bottom has another speaker. It still just is put to shame by the iPhone 10 and 10s family. Honestly, it just, there's not much bass. It sounds kind of tinny. And you compare it to the iPhone, which sounds so rich and so full. Samsung, come on, do something for us. This is a $1,000 phone. I don't want to feel like I have to put on earbuds just to not get... And then there's Bixby, perhaps the most made fun of digital assistant out there. The good thing is you can remap the Bixby button on the side of the phone to do something else if you wish. I've set it to activate the Google launcher, actually. We don't need two assistants, two photo apps, the usual complaint with Samsung phones, do we? Yeah. And the only thing I do like, though, is Bixby routines. Now, you just see the Bixby name, and if you're like me, you might say, I don't even want to look at this. But it's actually pretty good. It kind of reminds me of what Motorola was doing, location and time-based knowledge of what you're doing. So it'll turn wireless radios on and off. It'll change the screen brightness. It'll turn Do Not Disturb on. So it's kind of like Do Not Disturb plus all sorts of other clever things all put together. That's actually not bad. It does work with Samsung's VR goggles, the ones that are co-branded with Oculus. I tested that. That's because the stereoscopic image that the phone displays inside of the goggles is nowhere near the edges of the screen. So you don't see the cutout at all. You don't have to worry about that. The always-on display just simply rocks. It's customizable. Turn it on, turn it off, choose what you see on there, how much information. Double tap to wake, lift to wake, all of those things are here. IP68 water resistance, the things that you would like to see on a premium phone, those are well done. For the US models, and I believe Canada too, there actually is an FM radio here. There's no FM radio app, but you can download Next Radio. It's free. Plug in some headphones, which you can do on this phone. They act as the antenna, and you've got FM radio. Lastly, there's battery life. 4,100 milliamp battery is pretty darn huge. Battery life has been exceptional on this. I mean, I've been exceeding 6 hours of screen on time, and I keep the brightness at about 45%. You know, auto brightness is always enabled, but relatively speaking, and it's fantastic. Of course, I kind of felt that way about my Note 9 too. But the funny thing with Samsung phones is I don't find that they slow down over time like some people say, and maybe like they used to do, but I feel like the battery life just deteriorates after about 6 months. So we'll just have to see how that goes here. Maybe with the One UI and the optimizations that won't happen so much. It's a software-based thing. If I wipe out and hard reset my Note 9, the battery life does improve again. So it's not that the battery is physically aging or something like that quickly. So we'll see. But for right now, this thing is just amazing at how good the battery life is, especially for a high-end phone with the Snapdragon 855. Lots of RAM and all that sort of thing, a very bright display. By the way, that outdoor display brightness exceeds 1200 nits right now. You can't make it get that bright indoors because it's a function of the auto brightness, but it stays visible even in our bright Texas sun, which is sweet. So what about versus the Samsung Galaxy Note or Note 9? If you already have a Note 9, well, you know, you got the same size screen already. You have one, if you like that old Super AMOLED look that looks bluer, whiter, well, you've got that right here. You've got the S Pen. Should you wait for the Note 10? It really, I can't tell you that, you know. But the most important thing with the Note family to remember is if you really like the S Pen, that's why you got the Note. Otherwise, if you just want the biggest, best Samsung Galaxy, you've already got a giant Samsung Galaxy with the S10 Plus, right? So we'll wait and see what happens with the Note. When it comes to other phones, the OnePlus 6T, if you're not looking to spend so much money, really is a nice phone. Obviously, you're not getting as high resolution display, though. You're not getting the triple cameras, the IP68 water resistance. You're giving up some things. And for those of you who are into Huawei and can get the Huawei more easily than we can in the United States, there's the Mate 20 Pro, which is just as expensive, pretty much a phone, but it also has super cameras. I don't like the software as much. Not talking about the paranoia about spying and all that kind of thing. I just think that their UI is kind of heavy-handed. So there you have it. There's the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus available in the S10 and the S10e varieties as well, depending on what size you want, how much money you want to spend, and how you feel about curved glass or not. Anyway, the S10 Plus and the S10 really are nice phones. Like I said, I try to be chill, not get too excited, and I immediately just enjoyed it when I started using it. I get why people love Samsung phones, and I can just about get why we're spending so much money on these things these days. But it could be worse. There is the Samsung Galaxy Fold, which will be $2,000. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, including folding phones, coming soon. And thumbs up if you like this vid.